Look at this chunky girl. This is a tree wētā, an insect only found in New Zealand. These are some of my favourite insects in the world, so I thought I might pay homage to our native taonga in a way that is fitting to this insect's role in our ecosystem. Wētā are nocturnal, so those big glistening eyes work pretty well in low light. They may not be especially sharp-sighted, but that's what having antennae as long as your body is for. They do, however, have an excellent sense of movement, and when you're a big, juicy insect, you definitely want to be able to see predators moving around you. Between these two big eyes, there are 3 teeny tiny eyes that don't see so well, but can pick up changes in light, which is handy if you're not a morning person, I suppose. With 5 eyes on the face, there's just no room for ears. So why not have them in the next logical spot? The front legs, of course. Why not? If you look at how a wētā sits, with its front legs right to each side of its head, the ears just so happen to sit at the same point as a mammal's ears would. So is it that different? Now here's the organ that might freak you out. This big spike might resemble a god-awful stinger, but it's actually called an ovipositor, literally an egg layer. It's shaped like that so mama wētā can lay her eggs deep under the soil, like a little baby syringe. And that would be the safest place for them to be when your child-rearing strategy is to dump your spawn and run. Not the safest method of parenting, but I guess if the more eggs you deposit in the more holes, the better chances you have of at least one surviving. One of the best ways of confirming that you've come across a female wētā is to look for the ovipositor. In saying that, there is a large amount of visual difference, or sexual dimorphism, between tree wētā females and males. Now here is the awesome thing about male tree wētā. Firstly, you might note the resemblance to the spawn of hell with those big angry looking faces, but I'll have you know those are mostly for show. I don't think you'd want to get bit by one of those things, but you'd think with such gloriously chunky mandibles they'd be used for more than just showing off. So, do they use these big weapon-looking faces to fight? Surprisingly, they'd rather not. I guess that would ruin the immaculate look they have going on. So when 2 male wētā meet, you're less likely to see any grappling and biting and more likely just going to see some uneventful gaping. Biggest gape wins, that's it. Yes, this ferocious looking head is basically a wētā codpiece, which means the gape size is more for keeping other men at bay than looking attractive to the opposite sex. The ladies are not that fussy. So if you're a big-headed dude, you want to keep as many females to yourself as possible. Yes, it's called a harem. If you're a little dude, you might have to be more creative with your mating strategies. But before I go into that, let's talk homes. Wētā like wood. During the daytime and over winter, you'll find wētā tucked up in a cavity in some form of wooden structure. Wētā, like most animals, are super lazy. Why make your own home when something else can do it for you? Most wētā homes, or galleries, are the product of another insect's work, or just cavities that appear from the nature of breaking and rotting wood. Sometimes if a cavity is not the right shape, the female will chew them a little bit bigger. Here, by the way, is a great example of mandibles that actually do proper work, rather than just showing off to the boys. A male wētā, when he finds a suitable home, will happily share the space with any number of females, like a big insect clown car. In the winter, when mating isn't a priority, smaller males might sneak in there too, but they'll definitely get into some awkward conversations with the bigger male come spring. And conversing isn't done with the mouth parts either. You see, wētā mouths don't have any lips, just a tough, rigid pair of pinchy mandibles, and 4 little arms called pedipalps. Think of it like having 4 hands around your mouth instead of having lips. Eating would probably work, in a horrific sense, but you might need an alternative method when it comes to talking. So instead of making mouth sounds, wētā play the xylophone with their butts. Their abdomen is covered in ridges that make some high chirps when they run their back legs across it. The sounds can be pretty complex too. Obviously there are the sounds you hear when males want to get together with females, but just before the season where these sounds occur, you might hear more of a "get out of my house before I beat the crap out of you" chirp, which is definitely aimed at rival males rather than females. So is the only option for these smaller males to hit the gym and put on some muscle? Well, being insects, wētā don't grow the way mammals do. You know, consistently. They in fact have up to 10 distinct phases, we call these instars by the way, where they crawl out of their outside layer, leaving their previous outside behind, and becoming a distinctly larger version of themselves. Do you want to know what's really unfair though? Some male wētā won't shed 10 times. Sometimes male wētā will stop growing at instar 8 or 9, making getting bigger impossible. These smaller wētā aren't going to win any gaping contests. So here's where things are going to have to get strategic. Do you have a large dude expelling you from a gallery? Just find a gallery with an entrance hole too small for his big, stupid head. Or why not just see if you can get lucky during foraging time? And speaking of foraging, you won't find Wētā restricted to any tree in particular. In fact, they're not fussy about most of what they eat. Being opportunistic omnivores, they'll basically eat whatever they can shove into their mouths. New Zealand fuchsia, though, is one of those plants with a weird need to be inside Wētā. By that I mean the seeds get that extra boost that they need if they first get eaten and subsequently pooped out by a tree Wētā. They've done studies. Tree fuchsia grows better through Wētā. When you think of nocturnal seed dispersers, usually that role elsewhere is the job of rodents, like mice. Which makes sense, since there were no rodents in New Zealand when Wētā first evolved. Taking over the niche of mammals is one of the many things about Wētā that makes them so unique, and such vital elements to our native bush. What better way to honour them than with a bit more woodwork?